Welcome to the Chew on This podcast. Join your host, Dr. Katie Chew, and her guests as they chew on what matters, one story at a time.
Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of Chew on This podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Katie Chew. And today I have, how should I say, a rock star from our industry. We have Dr. Jennifer Tabiza.
Thank you so much.
And I know you're super humble, but I do want to say that rock star might not even be enough. It might be actually superstar.
Oh my God.
So, you know, I already know your credentials and all that stuff. Can you share that with my followers about all the stuff you've done within our industry?
I would love to. Yeah. So, you know, I started out as an optometrist. That was my primary career, obviously. That's why I'm here. And, you know, I think there was always an entrepreneurial spirit in me. So the first step was, like you, I bought a practice and it wasn't enough. I still wanted to do more. So as I bought the practice, I started to look for what was missing in our industry. I noticed technology was lagging. This is I bought in 2015.
Okay.
So that's when Bree and I decided to start Dr. Contact Lens, which is like an automated contact lens reminder system, integrates with your medical records, all that good stuff.
And Bree is your partner.
Bree is my co-founder in that. Yeah. So we launched that actually in about 2020. The product was ready for launch. And we wanted something that was better than 1-800 contacts. We worked really hard to create that efficiency. And then, as you can see now, that whole world blew up of like contact lens reminders and marketing systems and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, we were first in the game to do that. It was a lot of fun. And from there, we built Techifeye. So if you know Techifeye, Bree and I also started that.
I've seen many of your posts and things like that.
Have you been to our events?
No, I haven't. I think you just reposted something.
Yeah.
And every time when I see it, it puts a smile on my face just
sweet.
Because there's a lot of people who are attending
your
events, right?
Yeah. We try to make meaningful events that help people connect with the vendors in a way where they understand what the vendors are offering. Not just educational, like, oh, this is what we do. More, what's the ROI? What's the implementation like? What is my staff going to experience when we bring this on? Because that's a huge pain point for doctors.
So when you have the event, the vendors are there.
They're there.
Plus your
They're part of
attendees,
the
your
event.
guests.
Yeah.
And then so it's beyond networking. They're actually kind of guiding them through the business strategy of how to implement their whatever they're selling, right?
So we do it in like kind of a fun format. We have Shark Tank pitches where they go up and do a 3-minute pitch and you get to grade them. We make it fun so that you get to be part of the process. So does your staff. We bring staff to the events too.
Yeah.
And basically we also do roundtable dinners where they'll sit down 5 minutes at each table and they have 5 minutes to pitch you and then they'll rotate to the next table. And the whole idea is that their pitch is not just to sell you the product. It's really for you to understand how will your practice change when you start using their technology. And technology is a big passion of Bree and me. So when we started Techifeye, what we wanted to do was ease optometrists into this new era of where everything is digitized. And how do you learn about it? How do you not get overwhelmed? How do you decide who to partner with? And the people that are part of Techifeye, we highly vet for great customer service, great tech, and great ROI.
And when did you start that?
We started that in 2021.
Okay.
When we started to go back to the trade shows after the pandemic, we wanted to go back in a more meaningful way. So we rounded up a bunch of tech companies and we said, hey, let's start this coalition and really like educate the doctors about what we are offering. As you pass the tables, you just you get a little idea, but you don't really understand.
Yeah.
So it's more intimate.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
And I think, you know, I was reading one of your things about rice.
Yeah.
RICE. Is that related to
Techifeye? Bree is really passionate about the RICE method. It's basically a method of how do you understand and grade a company so that you can analyze whether it's right for your practice. And so we create RICE sheets where you basically, you're going through the ROI, you're going through the implementation, you're going through the customer service, all the things. So all the components that you really need to think about in order to decide, is this right for me? And what will it take to get it going? Because that's another big challenge, as you know. So Techifeye has been so much fun. We try to keep our events really lively. Bree and I try to be really entertaining and, you know, just really make it something different for our industry. Yeah. And so that was something else we did together. And then in 2022, I opened my medical spa. So that's a full-scale medical spa where we do biohacking, weight loss, skin tightening, all the things. And we do dry eye services, but we sort of expanded into a whole big model. And that's been, sort of what I've been working on for the last 4 years. And about 2 years ago, I started doing coaching and consulting for people who want to elevate their practice to a new brand, or they want to open a med spa, or they do dry eye, but they want to be more robust in the way that they do it. They want to understand this new business because, as you know, aesthetics in dry eye is new to doctors. Not that dry eye is unfamiliar, but how do we really encourage our customers to understand the need? How do we make them understand the investment in it, and how do we also talk to them about aesthetic changes? Because those are things that's new to us. So I help doctors do that in a more accelerated way without having to learn and jump through hoops and learn the long way.
Well, I attended one of your dinner presentations, and that was very robust. Okay. I mean, what I'm saying is that, for me, I haven't implemented anything in terms of aesthetics. And so for me to sit in the audience, you got me excited.
Oh, yay. Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah, and actually the sales rep from that dinner actually reached out to me.
Nice.
and I just saw him 2 days ago.
Yeah, he's lovely.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about working with great companies. I've had the unfortunate experience of working with companies that weren't so great to work with. Sometimes you learn the hard way. And there is a big difference between companies that really support you and show up for you, train your team, help you implement, because it's not just about buying the device. It's a relationship you're going to have.
It is.
A lot of us don't think that through all the way. We don't really know how much we're going to need from a company. So I really am starting to focus on companies in aesthetics that have our back and will help us cross the bridge into this new era of such a great niche that you can add to your practice.
Yeah. And when you say partnership, or, it is like, I've been in the industry for 30 years, and I can tell right away if a company their approach is, product centric,
right,
as opposed to doctor centric or patient centric,
yes,
right? It's a completely different feeling.
It is.
And I'm very good at detecting it now.
Good.
And so, and I think that's what you're bringing forth is with the people that, attend your dinner presentations, you're able to kind of guide them as to what's important, right? How to find the right vendor and all that stuff.
It matters.
And so
it
does matter.
I don't like to speak poorly on certain companies, but I will say that it is really important that you do diligence and are careful about what you invest in right now, because there is a lot out there. Think of it this way.
And they're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
The industry of aesthetics is sort of really excited to get into vision care because it's a new sector they get to sell to. Mm-hmm. So it's important you educate yourself and know that they're all after us, not in a bad way, but they do. They all have radio frequency and IPL devices, right?
I mean, they're trying to grow themselves, right?
Absolutely,
and so beyond,
absolutely.
The traditional aesthetic places, they want to expand over to the eye care industry.
They do, and there isn't a single aesthetic company that isn't doing that right now. And the difference is, one key thing as a pointer to the audience is look into what actually has FDA approval for dry eye. There isn't as much as you think, and there's a lot of devices being sold for it.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things do matter.
I think there's only one right now.
There's only one. There's only one, and the lasers, you see, we don't understand a lot about lasers because they're sort of new to us as an industry. They're not all the same. They're not all the same potency, and they're not all the same wavelengths. And there are specific wavelengths that have been really effective for dry eye, and there are certain wavelengths that are more for aesthetics, and you're not going to get as much of a dry eye improvement. And there are devices being sold as a dry eye device that's really more of an aesthetic device. So
and they're not FDA approved.
They're not FDA approved for dry eye.
For dry eye.
They're generally FDA approved devices, but they're not.
But not for dry eye.
And not every aesthetic company understands dry eye the way others do. So these are all things to consider. They're not things everyone's thinking about because I'm so in the industry. I see what people are investing in, and I'm like, and I get it. I made the same mistakes. I had to learn the hard way too. So I am out there just educating people how to buy devices. How do you even buy a red light device? Believe it or not. People don't know how to look up something called irradiance levels. These are the levels that actually penetrate the skin and get into the skin. You could have so much red light, but if the irradiance is not right, you'll never absorb it. So you have to know what questions to ask, and you have to know what to look for. And what you don't know, you don't know. So you end up buying these things, and I think every optometrist has at least bought one device they really regret in their lifetime.
I was kind of keeping back the word regret, but you said it first, and I'm going to back you up.
Oh, it's part of being a business owner.
I have quite a bit of some colleagues of mine, friends of mine, and they were very excited about buying their first one. Yeah. And then somehow they're just kind of sitting in the back, but they moved on to buying a different one.
Well, that's good. Some people get stuck, sometimes when they make one bad mistake.
No, unfortunately, the ones I my friends, they have moved on. But it's just sad that the first one that they bought, it ends up being,
it happened to me in my med spa, not in the dry eye practice, but it did happen to me in the med spa. I bought a couple of hefty devices that had nothing behind it that I was promised. So, again, it's an interesting thing to think about how much due diligence we have to do on devices. I don't think we're used to that. We buy our autorefractors, we buy our 4-opters. We understand they work. We don't really heavily look into the nuances, but in this genre, you should. And there are a lot of options out there. Yeah. So really take your time with understanding them. And if nothing else, I'm around as a resource for people to work with to quickly learn the right ways to do things.
So can you see why I called you a superstar?
Oh, you're so sweet.
So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start doing our soft chews and hard chews. I think I passed you the bag right at the beginning. Exciting. And so my guests usually will pull from the soft chews. Okay. And those are the easy questions. They're the ones that, make us smile. So I ask
you this question?
Well, you're going to pull one out and you're going to read it.
I'm going to
And then we're going to see if you want to answer first or I answer first.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we'll go with the hard chew.
This is fun. What kind of energy do you naturally bring to a room? I know the answer for Katie.
Well, why don't you go first?
Answer it for you.
Oh, you're going to answer for me? We've never done that before.
Yeah, let's do it. Well,
all right.
Actually, I haven't known you that long.
Okay,
but,
so let's answer for each other.
I have a strong read on people in general.
Yeah.
I see you as you're a classic networker. I'm very into archetypes. I don't know if you've heard this phrase before.
No.
Carl Jung basically was the first one to really use this phrase, but archetypes are sort of your core characteristics in your persona. Okay. And you tend to carry them very strongly. There's the teacher archetype, the philosopher archetype, and there's the networker archetype. And Bree is a great example of a networker archetype too. These are great people because they're naturally extroverted and they tend to have a passion for bringing people together. Yeah. They like to be known within groups, but for good reason, because they want to keep they want to keep the group going. They want to keep them connected. So you seem like one of those people to me. I mean, you bring other things, but that's something I noticed about you, just generally watching you on LinkedIn and seeing how you are in person. And I've heard things about you too.
Oh, well, so the networking part, I'm going to just tell you that before even being on social media, I was always networking amongst my family and friends. And so, I would always call myself the matriarch, because after my grandmother passed, and she's passed, well over 15 years now, I think. And but time goes by fast. But the point is that we still needed that glue in our family, and so to get all the family functions and all that. So even the family networking was important for me. But yeah, I do it amongst my friends. And
are you the oldest?
I am the oldest.
The oldest loves to do that.
I am the oldest. Yeah. So, okay, for you, I don't know the archetype, so I don't know what to call you, but I know that you radiate positivity, high energy.
Thank you so much.
And I borrowed your word earlier because you said robust. I'm like, oh, that's a good one for you. Because, I think when I went to your presentation, I didn't know what to expect. Right. I only knew you from the posts and social media. And again, that's very two-dimensional, right? What we see on a post. And then, so I got to see you live. And I think you also have a way of, I don't know if it's networking, but connecting, definitely connecting. You know what I mean?
I like to educate. I'm more of like I love to share ideas. I don't know if that's quite networking. It's more,
Correct.
It's a passion for everything I learn. I want to quickly spread it.
Mhm.
And if for anybody who follows me on LinkedIn, you can see I write articles about all kinds of things, manifestation, business,
Yeah.
leadership, anything I learn, and I love to learn. I just quickly, because it also helps me integrate it more and more into who I am. You know, every time I share something with someone, I remember to do it too. There's so many times where I've been training somebody on a philosophy that I also let go of.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to bring this back.
Mhm.
And there are certain marketing tools even sometimes that I've let go of. And I'm like, why did I stop doing that?
Yeah.
And so teaching helps you become better at what you're teaching.
Yeah. Oh, no. I think people who are, like, I would definitely use the word passionate for you. And I think people who are passionate about what they do, what they say, it's because there's that continuous desire to be better, to
Correct.
learn,
Yeah.
right? And that's what fuels the passion.
It does.
Right? Because if you don't have that craving to learn
Right.
or to move forward, I mean, it's sad to say, but that fire can easily start dimming, right?
You know, and I think
And
a lot
so-
of us as optometrists struggle with that in our
Yeah.
industry. It can easily become a monotonous type of business if you
Mhm.
don't invigorate it the right way.
Yeah.
You know, before I did dry eye, before I had my med spa, I would do little things to make optometry more exciting. I rotate my brands every 3 years. I don't keep the same brands. Why? I want my patients to see new things every year. I
Yeah.
want to feel excited about something. I love eyewear. I would bring new brands in and I would expire the brands and they would say, why? I'm like, because I want you to experience new collections. You've seen Tom Ford for 5 years. Let's try something new. And so
And you know, I'm learning from you as you're talking right now. I'm like, okay, 3 years.
it actually works really well as a
Yeah.
philosophy because it doesn't matter how small or big your optical is, your patients do come every year. And as we know, eyewear collections are a little bit repetitive across brands. Like they always have the same styles. And so I always look to bring in new ones. Do the
Yeah.
vendors love that? Maybe yes, maybe no, but it's my philosophy and my patients love it. I love it. And so these ways of making your eye care practice more exciting keep you going, keeps your patients going
Yeah, it
too.
keeps it more fresh.
Yeah. And your staff. Your staff loves change. Not too much change, but enough to, you know, give them something to care about again.
Yeah.
We all get caught up in the day-to-day admin and the usual monotonous things that we do. And I think we need a little energy to spark us, whether it's, hey, I'm going to paint the walls next year and I'm going to make the practice look a little different or whatever it might be.
Well, for me, one of the biggest changes was deciding to not wear my white coat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, for me,
Yeah.
you know, and it was because I was able to be me. Like I felt like if I wore a white coat, it was to represent that I'm the optometrist, right? But I felt like I was losing part of who Katie is, right? And so by me not wearing the white coat when I come into the practice, I can wear anything I want.
Yeah.
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 And so that helps me keep things a little bit different every day.
Absolutely.
Something as simple as that.
I think a lot of us like the coat at first because it helps us as we're integrating the new identity. We're an optometrist now.
Yes.
And also when we're young, we want people to trust us.
Exactly.
Get a couple of wrinkles, they don't care anymore.
But at some point when you get to 20 years of practicing, I think they already know.
They know.
You're
they know you're not a
established.
spring chicken anymore. So I think that's a great change.
And that was after COVID. You know,
Okay.
I prior to COVID, I always wore the white coat.
Okay.
And then after COVID, I was just like,
Switch it up.
Well, yeah, it's because I started looking into my closet and I was like, there are so many things here that I may never wear again.
Oh, wow.
Like it might just be one time.
Yeah.
And why is it just sitting there, right? So I either wear it or I donate, right? And so I decided to start wearing anything. I mean, anything is fair games in my closet now to go and wear it to work. So, all right, I think we did good on that soft chew. Are you ready for a little bit more of a challenging one? All right. What has life taught you about resilience that you couldn't have understood earlier?
What a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so there's so many things you could say about that. Well, what's your experience been?
What has life taught you about resilience that you couldn't have understood earlier?
You want me to give it a go?
Yeah.
While you're thinking?
Yeah. If you know, you go first.
I think resilience is one of the biggest lessons you learn taking the chance on being a business owner because you're going to have ebbs and flows. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have business partners you don't like. You're going to have patients that write bad reviews around you. These things thicken your skin, but also help you shed old identities where you're so attached to every single thing that happens in business as if it's a reflection of who you are. Because, you know, we all experience the ups and downs of life, but I think business owners have the next level of that experience because there's more you're putting on the line. And, you know, this goes beyond the realm of optometry, right? Anytime you go out in the world and you invest in something big and you bring it to the table, there's going to be difficulties that you face because that's how it's designed inherently. I don't know a single entrepreneur of any kind that starts a business and it's smooth sailing from day one and there isn't a single lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
That's simply not the way it goes.
No, that's not.
So I think one of the lessons with resilience over time that I've seen is that it's almost built in that you're going to have hardships, whereas I used to view it as a failure. You know, when I remember when we built Dr. Contact Lens, for example, we had paid programmers to build it, and they took a lot of our money and basically built nothing. And, you know, you want to go into victimhood. You want to say, why me? And through that experience, actually, that was the first time Rhea and I realized how resilient we were because we mourned it. We learned our lesson. And within 2 weeks, we started all over again. It happened again the second time. It happened all over again. And we were like, okay, what are we not learning?
With a different group.
Yes. So it happened a second time. The third time obviously was the charm. But, you know, that experience, there were so many emotions I had to go through, and also to let go of the identity that I was a failure. It wasn't so much that we were failures. We just were trying something we had never done before. And you don't get there without tripping. It just is part of the story of resilience. And so I think that's the biggest thing I don't think I saw coming before really expanding and opening all these new ideas up to the world is, oh, there's a lot that can go wrong. And, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's sort of how you get to the next level, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think for me, I mean, there were a lot of different things. I was going to touch upon, you know, being a cancer survivor at first when I first read this, right? But then as you started talking about business, I'm going to change my answer now to business, right? Because, you know, cancer is one thing, right? You know, and I'm not trying to, you know, minimize the struggle through that. But at the same time, there's a little bug here. Do you
little
see
visitor.
It?
Join our podcast, will you?
All righty. Good thing I like bugs. So for me, you know, I think the business side of it, because it's 30 years.
This guy
I think we need to, let's see.
Go hang out.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Okay, I think he's gone.
They can edit it.
Okay, no worries.
What is it? It's like a little moth.
Yeah.
So battling cancer, that was a period in my life, right? But for business, it's been 30 years.
Yeah.
And the, you know, the highs and the lows of being a small business owner, you just have to like bounce back from it. But at the very beginning of, you know, when the first low comes in, it's like when you're young, you feel like, how long is this low going to last?
Yeah.
And then you do question, or you start maybe not even questioning, you believe that you're a failure.
Right.
And so I think now that I'm more seasoned, I realize that those low points don't really last that long, that we always come back up.
Yeah.
And so they just feel less and less of a failure. And now it's more of learning points or places where we can take lessons from and learn and grow and move forward. But I am going to borrow a word that you used earlier. You used the word expansion or expanding, right? And I think that's how I see it too, is that, you know, being 30 years into practice, and I feel like these last few years I've been spending more money. I've been injecting more money into my practice. Whereas I could be like some of my other colleagues who have already sold their practices, they're retiring, this and that. They're already exiting. And for me, it's like I'm injecting more money into my practice. And it's a little bit scary because I'm thinking, when am I going to see the return?
Right.
Right. But I have to keep reminding myself that, you know, I'm expanding.
Right.
I'm expanding my
Yeah.
practice. And it is going to take time.
Yeah.
Because in order for you to make a practice grow, you have to financially invest in it.
That's true.
Right?
Not just financially, time too.
Well, yes, the time's going to come with it, but you know, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, it just doesn't happen. You can't expand a practice without financially putting more commitment into it, right?
Well, commitment is important, and the time part is important, because a lot of people do actually put in the financial part, but they
but not
don't
the
put,
time.
right, and that does turn into a failure. So you said it as if it was obvious, but there's so many.
But I guess I didn't really realize.
I mean,
that.
I take clients all the time who have bought devices that have sat there for 2 years collecting dust. They didn't take action on it. You have to learn how to use it.
You're right.
You have to learn how to.
Right.
So there is two parts to investing in the practice. I think the time part, from what I've seen on an average year, because I offer free strategy calls, right? You can call me 15 minutes. I'll tell you how I can help you if you want to work with me, right? Something I've been doing for about 2 years now. So I take, probably over the course of the year, maybe 200 calls.
Wow.
And so that means I get to talk to a lot of practice owners and really hear what's going on for them.
Yeah.
And I would say the number one thing I think that is missing is their investment in time outside of the exam room, right? So most optometrists think it's a problem to take an admin day or take a step back and slow down to speed up, meaning you cannot really grow your practice if it doesn't look terribly different.
And we'll just pull different questions.
Okay. So I'll just finish the thought and then we'll go to the next question.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
So one of the best things I learned was you have to slow down in order to speed up. You can't really grow something if you don't put your time into it. So instead of always 100% of the time working in a business, you want to also put at least 20% of your time on working on the business. That way you can actually expand your practice and not work yourself to the bone, because so many of us do. We love our patients. We see them 8 to 5 every single day, and we feel like taking a break is doing a disservice to them. But you also have to feed yourself, and you have to be able to have work-life balance, and you have to be able to reach your goals, whether it's expanding your own business, opening that next location, starting a tech company like I did. I had to scale way back in order to open all my new ventures, and it was the best decision I made. And it's the number one thing I tell doctors to do before working with me. I say, if you can't take one admin day a week, we won't get anywhere.
I know. I think a lot of doctors don't even know what admin days are.
Yeah.
And
or what to do with them.
Well, exactly. And I think, you do have to carve out some time away so that you can work on your practice. Like how you said, you cannot always be inside the exam room.
Exactly.
You can't manage your business that way.
You can't.
Or to even think about ways of expanding it. So, all right, that was... I believe it was a hard question. So we're going to go with, you want to pull a soft question?
All right. Let's see what we get here. So, okay. Oh, seems like, I think these are let's see. Okay. What's something you've said yes to recently that made your life more fun?
That I said yes to. I don't know. I feel like I say yes to a lot of things. Like, I mean, I rarely...
You're a yes girl?
Yes, I rarely say no. So I think maybe that's why people always think that I'm spreading myself too thinly on things. But I think, just making myself available for my older daughter, I think that's been a lot. And I'm going to, meet up with her this weekend as well.
Yeah.
And even though we're going to try to find a place that will be open for Easter, but we're going to do our own little, Easter brunch.
Cute. So
just
fun.
Us girls. And she's going to try to find some place, out in either Newport or Laguna in that area. So,
nice.
But yeah, I've been saying a lot of more yeses with her. How about you?
Recently I said yes to a little class reunion, and I don't mean like a school official one, like a fun one that we planned ourselves.
Yeah.
And our classmates were super, super close. I mean, we had the most exceptional.
Is it all girls or is it?
It is all girls in our little subgroup,
Mhm.
but our whole class was really tight. I don't know if everyone experienced that in optometry school. Maybe it is such a bonding time, but we had so much fun. You know, we went to school down in South Florida, so we had access to Miami, which
Mhm.
means we had a lot of late party nights and a lot of late study nights. And we used to go out with a friend on a yacht every weekend, and we just have all these beautiful memories together. And we've gotten together a lot over the years, but we haven't seen each other in a minute with kids and family and business. So this year we really got ourselves together and we planned a trip for the fall, and I'm really excited.
And when was the last time you guys saw each other?
The last time I saw all of them, oh my gosh, it was too long ago. I think it was like 8 years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So
Yeah,
we saw each
so-
other a lot the first 5 years after
Correct.
we
Or
graduated.
maybe not with everybody, but now
And then
this is the whole.
you
group.
know, it's been harder with schedules and this and
Yeah.
that, but everyone's kids are getting a little older. We're all getting a little bit more comfortable with our schedules and how to get away. And so, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And are you originally from Florida? Where are
I
you
am from New York,
Oh, you're
actually.
from New
Yeah.
York.
So I followed the sunshine. I went down to Florida and then over to the West Coast.
Yeah. And your partner Bree, is she from?
She lives in Fort Lauderdale.
Uh-huh.
She went to her Bascom Palmer residency was down there. She met her husband and they stayed. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But
So
she's from Colorado.
Oh, she's from Colorado.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I know. So you follow the sun. I always follow the sun wherever
Yes.
I go. And even when I think about my future retirement place, it's going to have to be someplace tropical with sun.
I'm the
So,
same way.
All right.
We're doing a hard two?
Yes, we're going to
Let's
do a
do
hard
it.
two. And I'm trying to not pull a whole wad of these questions out, but I think I can get one out right now. Okay, here we go. What moment in your life made you redefine what enough means?
That's a good one. I like it.
All right, you want to go first?
Sure. You know, this is a little bit of a parallel, but it helped me understand this.
Mm-hmm.
When we were earlier talking about taking time away from seeing patients to build your practice,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times it kind of answers that question, like, when do I know that I've done enough? When do I feel like I've succeeded? Rather than thinking of it that way, I learned this technique from a business coach called the leverage ladder. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
It'll change your life if you follow it, which is if you're about to do a task, try to decide how much that task is worth to your business. Let's say it's a $10 an hour task, like an admin task.
Mhm.
Should you be doing it? No, you shouldn't, because it's not worth your time. If you're going to be doing something that can produce you $10,000, that's how you think of each task, as you sort of figure out what it might bring to you or your business. And so when I try to figure out whether I've done enough, is I always make sure I mix in high ROI tasks that will make me feel like I really performed that day. And I stopped doing the low income tasks. You know, I started to outsource them, use assistants, used AI, use programs that will help me do them, because they're not really worth my time. And because I've used the leverage ladder so much in my life, not only has it allowed me to be successful, that's how I know I've always done enough, because I'm always focusing on the bigger tasks in my life and tackling those first, versus the, $10 an hour, $100 an hour. You can kind of grade them. They're not all the same.
Yeah.
And sometimes you are going to do $10 an hour tasks, but you want to try to make sure you're really paying attention to what are the things you can do that will give you the most return personally, spiritually, and financially, all of it. That you're going to feel good when it's done, you're going to feel accomplished, it's going to impact people, and it's going to make you more money.
Well, yeah. And I mean, it just sounds like a completely balanced life.
Yeah.
Where it's across
And
the
it's how
entire
you
board.
kind of strategize these admin work days to feel like you've done enough.
Yeah. Let's see. How am I going to answer this one? What moment in my life made you redefine what enough means? I think, how we were talking about how words matter.
Yes.
And how it helps, I think earlier, I used a lot of my small business with you earlier, and we're like, maybe you should not use the word small and think of your business as being a business, right? Or an enormous business or a big business. And it's kind of like when I look at this right now and I'm thinking enough kind of puts a cap, right?
It's true.
On stuff. So I'm thinking that it's never enough.
Well,
right? I mean, I'm just saying.
Depends how you describe enough. I guess enough is Did you do everything you were meant to do in a day? Did you do everything you meant to do in a month? It depends how you qualify it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're right. We're existing. So technically,
it's already enough.
We never, well, and also it's never enough because you're always looking for the next thing. So it's a very philosophical question.
It
really.
is. It is. So I feel like for me, what was considered enough was, you know, raising my children to where they are independent, that now I feel whole, because, you know, I always felt like just raising them when they were young and not knowing, you know, like if they were going to live with me forever or whatever. And now that I see that they're independent, it's like I've done enough to raise them, if that makes sense.
You completed the mission.
I've completed the mission. And so now I can just kind of sit back and just enjoy the rewards of
So you did do
them.
enough.
I did do enough.
And that is a really great moment to define.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a
yeah.
great
And
moment.
sometimes you're
It
in
is a
an
great
era
moment.
of your life where nothing has been enough yet, you know, and you're still working to accomplish that feeling that you're talking about, where you sit back and you enjoy the fruits of your labor. You enjoy the seeds that you planted. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes you're in the weeds. You're tilling,
for a while in my life,
the soil.
I felt like I was in the weeds. But now I see just everything blossoming and growing. And
it's such a nice,
it's beautiful.
Nice
All right,
feeling.
you want to pull a soft chew?
Let's do it.
And then we'll do one more hard, and then I think we'll call it a day for us, and then we can have some lunch.
What's something you're looking forward to right now, big or small? Oh, did we do this one?
I don't know. I think we might have. Pull another one.
Sorry. Let's see. All right. What's a simple pleasure you never get tired of?
A simple pleasure that I never get tired of.
Do you want me to start the question over?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just pretend it's the same one. All right. What's a simple pleasure you never get tired of?
A simple pleasure that I never get tired of? Definitely massages.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's never, that one is never enough.
I agree.
Like, you know,
especially when it's good.
I'll sign in for maybe a 70-minute one or a 90-minute one, and it's like, they're like,
Can't
okay,
it be 5 more
we're
hours?
already done. And I'm like, what? Can I just pay, you know?
I totally agree.
And a lot of times when I go, they're already closing, you know what I mean? So for me to add more time, it's not going to happen. So I'm like, but yeah, massages.
I know.
Yes.
I wish those never ended. Yeah, those are great. That's a good one. I love it.
How about you?
I think a simple pleasure, and one of the reasons I love living in California, is the beach. I mean, I go all the time. I live in Santa Monica, and every time I go, I'm blown away that we live this close to such a beautiful place to look at and to be in and to experience. And yeah, it always gets me every single time.
So let me ask you, you went to school out in Florida.
I did, yeah.
What was the beach like in Florida compared to California? Because I feel, I grew up in California. I love the beach, but the sand part. Not the water part, because the water part is so cold to get into.
It is, that's true. I don't really get in the ocean too much.
But I love, you know,
they're different.
Dining around the, you know, and having
being
ocean
able to
view.
see
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
But in terms of Florida, is the water warmer?
The water is warm. If you love to get in the ocean, that's the place to do it. It's a little bit more of a flatter scenery. We don't have the cliffs and the mountains in the background. It's very scenic here. It's more simple there. You know, you see the ocean, you got the palm trees, and that's it. Here, it's more dynamic. You know, it's
that's
like
true.
You've got the cliffs, the mountains, the houses on the cliffs. You can see, you know, it's a little bit more European feeling here. And Florida is just a good old fashioned beach that you have a good time in. And I loved it. You know, I love both beaches. They are really different, though.
Yeah.
They're very different.
Well, I did a speaker training just a few weeks ago out in Tampa.
Okay.
And so when I was about to land, you know, on the plane, I looked out the window, and you can see that most of the state is like water. Like I just felt like
all you saw was water.
Yes, I kept seeing water, and then some land, and then some more water, and so that's kind of neat to know that Florida.
They have so many lakes.
Oh, exactly.
So many lakes.
It's amazing. It's beautiful.
It is.
Whereas California, yeah, there's a lot of different terrains, and I always have to like remind myself that we're still a desert.
It is a desert too, and we forget that sometimes.
It is a
I
desert.
know.
So, all right, we did a soft and one more hard,
I
and
think
then
we're due for one more.
Yes. Let me pull one out. When did you realize you had grown in a way others might not see?
You know, honestly, I don't know if that's something I think about too much. I don't concern myself too often with what others see in me. I just keep being myself and growing. And what you do notice, I'm sure this happens to everyone in your lifetime, is as you shift and change, the people around you tend to also shift and change. And I think people naturally will come into your life as you're changing that shows you've changed because you're attracting a different crowd of people. And there are some
It's very
people,
fluid.
It's very fluid. And some people, for whatever reason, just sort of slowly fade out of your life. Maybe their energy or their frequency or their story is moving in a new direction, not bad or worse, just different.
Just different.
And it may not be aligned with you as much anymore. You know, I have a lot of friends in the last decade that were growing their families and really focused on their kids. And that's such a beautiful thing. I didn't do that, you know, so I ended up attracting a crowd of new friends that were a little bit more on their entrepreneurial part of their journey, right? And so I was surrounded by those people, and I heard a little less from the people focused on that. It's a good example of like how I felt I was changing was, okay, we're in different parts of the story. And it doesn't mean that people are bad or wrong. It doesn't always mean that. It just means that, to me, that's how I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think about it that much.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said because I was in that phase of, you know, raising my daughters and all that. And then even though I waited to have my children, a lot of my girlfriends waited even longer, if that makes sense. So now that my children are independent, a lot of my best friends and close friends, their children are, you know, maybe still in high school. And so they're still waiting for their kids to finish off college and then they can start doing their things. And so, but that's where I am right now. You know, so they're, I'm these are ways that I'm growing, you know, because they're wondering like, how am I able to find time to do this? But I have to remind them, right, that I'm in a different space. Right. If I still had my kids around, I think I wouldn't be able to do as much as what I'm doing. 100%. I wouldn't be able to because it's a different focus. And but that's something that they can't see right now. Right. And they're just thinking that I'm spreading myself too thin. And I have to remind them. I'm like, no, I'm in a different time of my life. I don't have my children. You know, I'm an empty nester. Right. So the time that I normally would be spending with my children, now I get to spend on the things that I love to do, right? To grow myself. And that's where I am. So.
And a lot of times people make comments like that because it's a reflection of how they would feel if they were in your shoes, that you're being spread too thin. They think they would feel spread too thin because it's true. They're not in the right mindset to do or have the time to do what you're doing. And that comes up a lot even with me and my business coaching. I'll take strategy calls, like I said, all year long. And I talk to all these great young business owners. They're anywhere from the age of like 30 to 40, so family building era. And one of the things they often say to me is, how do you do all of these things? And I always am honest with them. I'm like, well, to be fair to you, I don't have children, right? So everyone's in a different situation. There's so many female business owners and they're trying to do it all. And it's not that it's impossible. Just don't put so much pressure on yourself. You don't know what makes things different for other people. That's why I say it, is for people to understand you're seeing something that you feel is intimidating, but you would have been able to do it too should you've had the time. Well, you know what I mean, if you wanted to do it, I should say. So time is everything, but it's also why we rely on consultants and coaches. You know, you said earlier you hired a consultant and people look to me to help them advance their practice because they don't have necessarily the time to spend learning everything that they want to learn in order to bring it to their business. So a great way to move ahead in life is to hire coaches and consultants. And on that note, a coach and a consultant are two different things. And I act as both because often I notice that business owners need a blend of both. Coaching is mindset. Coaching is, what do you expect from life? How do you speak to yourself? What's your internal dialogue? What are your barriers? What are your What are the things that are holding you back? And then there's consulting, which is the part from experience and education and ROI and strategy and marketing and all that kind of good stuff. And the reason why I always use both words at the same time is I want people to understand that you do need both. Consulting without coaching is empty. It's do all these things, goodbye, right? And it's being extreme, but I've had consultants and sometimes it feels like that a little bit. I've also had business coaches, and it's completely catapulted me forward in my ability to do the things the consultant wanted me to do. And then marrying them together has been really great for my experience with people, because I don't want them to think I'm only one. I always say I'm both.
Because so I'm going to put it in my own words
Yes.
as to how I see it. I feel like you being the consultant, right, would be the person that's helping the business owner, look at all the different strategies
Yes.
of how to, improve the business, right? But I think the coaching part, which is a necessity, is the person that's going to be providing the tools
Right.
to how to implement those strategies from a mindset point
It's
of
your
view,
mindset.
right?
It's your mindset.
Right? Because sometimes, even though somebody could be great at giving you, the return
strategy,
on, like a strategy
yeah.
or a return on investment, right? And they can put everything based on charts and things like that. But if you're not in the right mindset, then that's going to hold you back. It's kind of like mindset is also tied into, I think, and I'm talking from my own experience. A lot of the things that was holding me back was fear.
Yeah, that's the number one thing.
Yeah, fear of the unknown.
Right.
Right. And so I think, and I've also had people tell me, well, but consultants are not coaches are not therapists, right? And I know they're two separate things, right?
Right.
But changing the mindset, you don't really need therapy for it.
No.
That's for something more deep rooted.
Exactly.
But I think, yeah, you're right. You do need both together.
You do. A coach is almost like a parallel to a therapist. It's not that we're going back and talking about your childhood.
Correct.
We don't need to do that. And sometimes in the world of healing and spirituality, because I'm also very invested in that, I do bring a piece of it. It's not that I ask you to locate where did this wound come from. But what's really fascinating about the human psyche is you don't have to dig into a wound to change. People think you have to go to the depths of it and relive it and hash it out over and over. You can rewire your mind overnight if you want to and retell the story of an experience. For example, let's say something bad happened to you. Like for me, something bad that happened to Dr. Contact Lens, right? We got screwed over by a programming team. And you can rewrite the story in perspective and say, that had to happen to me for the universe to teach me enough resilience to have built the empire that I built. But at that point, the story was different. So coaches kind of help you rewrite stories so that you can get out of your own way.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's say nobody helped you rewrite that story, right? And so after that first failure, I'm going to put in air quotes, right? You could have just turned away and just not tried the second time.
Correct.
Right? And then the third time was the charm, right?
Yeah.
And so,
when you really want something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Persistence does pay off.
It does. And sometimes, again, coaching mindset shifts are, I even do this with myself when I'm full of fear, because I'm certainly a human. I'll have moments where I feel like everything's going to collapse. I've taken on too much or whatever. I've financially stretched too thin, whatever it might be.
Wait, you're human?
I am human. I'm not an alien like people think I am. Well, actually I am, but don't tell anyone. I tell myself, I work out what's the worst case scenario. I actually make myself say the worst case scenario. Like, what is it? Keep going. Is it this? Is it that? At the end of the day, for any business owner, maybe it could be bankruptcy, right? Like in a real catastrophe, that would be, even that is solvable. Even that is solvable.
I love that. So you even put that down.
Yeah, because I even say to myself, I have to file for bankruptcy. Doesn't mean I'm a failure. It just means I made one bad decision and I have to rehab it. And there are ways to cope with
that.
And so you're not going to die
Yeah.
and you're not going to lose yourself. You're not going to lose your life. So really, and when I have those internal conversations, which came from years of coaching, then I can self-soothe the fear that rises that you're talking about. Is I always say, what in this scenario, what's the worst case?
Yeah.
Really, I keep going at it until I find it.
Yeah.
And then I say it to myself, and then I'm like, well, how would I deal with that? And I realize I could even deal with that. And I'm like, oh.
See, and the way you're talking out the process, that is something that you can share as a coach.
Absolutely.
Right? To your clients.
It is. It was like earlier when I was talking about the price thing where doctors say to me, I give them the price and they say no. And I say,
that is too much.
Would you spend the money?
Oh. Yeah,
would you spend the money? Would you go to a med spa and spend $2,000 on a auxiliary surface that you don't need? And they always say, no, I wouldn't. And I said, well, how do you expect your patients to say yes to you? Everything is a reflection of ourselves. Everything in our whole life is, and even your businesses. Business is such a spiritual experience.
It is.
It shows you resilience. It teaches you all your lessons. It makes you a better leader, a better parent, a better everything, it's better conversationalist. Better. There isn't anything it doesn't improve.
Oh my gosh! Literally yesterday, my daughter was calling me when I was finishing up my charts, and it was already like 6 p.m. And I was like telling her, I got to go and whatever. But, we still had one more story to share with each other, right? And I brought up spirituality about, how my practice, like full circle, has brought me back to being more spiritual. And it's given me so much. And when I say spiritual, it doesn't have to be tied into a specific religion.
No.
We're talking about spirituality in terms of like energy.
Yeah.
There's a spirit of joy, a spirit of just of giving and receiving.
Right.
And it's beautiful.
And you have a mission here. You have a reason for being here.
Well, I do have a mission.
In spirituality, for me, that's really what it comes down to is, what am I doing here? Maybe I can't get to the bottom of exactly what I'm doing here in terms of why are we all here? Those are very endless questions. But I just mean, what's my personal mission? What was I meant to do? And if you don't know, you don't need to panic. You just have to be motivated to find it. It will reveal itself if you want to know what you're supposed to be doing here. But if you, again, just work monotonously, you don't really think like that, it's going to suck the joy out of your life.
No, 100%.
So, yeah.
100%. All right, so I'm going to say thank you for joining me today on my podcast. Yes. I think you've shared an abundance of wealth of information.
Yeah, I hope so.
And when I first introduced you and I said you're more than a rock star, you're a superhero or superstar, you see me, I have a big smile on my face.
So sweet.
So, but again, thank you.
Thank you.
So to all my followers, I want to thank you for joining us today. As a reminder, I want you to go out and live purposefully, see life so clearly, and lead boldly each day. And until next time, take care. Bye.